Welcome back. So in today's lesson we are going to be cutting our pattern out, and we are going to learn how to mark important parts of our pattern. Okay, now you might remember yesterday that I said that this needs to be cut as a single, so it says cut once. So I said, okay, well, I'll cut this on a separate piece of fabric. I am silly, I wasn't concentrating. But if because we have to cut this whole piece out, if I cut this on the fold like this, so if I fold up my pattern and I pin it to the fold of my fabric, I will get my entire piece. So that was very silly of me. I must not have been concentrating. But I'm glad that this happened, because that way you can see that mistakes like these or misunderstandings or whatever happen to the best of us, okay? So it happens. All right, so I'm gonna get that pinned really quick, and then I'm gonna show you how to cut your pattern out. Okay. My fabric is all pinned, everything looks good. So we're gonna talk about cutting our pattern now, okay? So when you are cutting, you are going to be using your fabric scissors. Now, when I am cutting, I try very hard to cut with my pattern to the right of the back of my hand, my cutting hand. So you might be a lefty, okay? So you might have to orient yourself a little bit differently, but I find it easier to cut with my pattern to the right of the back of my hand, okay? It'll give you a much nicer cut, all right? So I need to cut 2 for my upper ruffle. So I am going to start now. You want to do nice long snips. That way you don't get those jagged edges when you are cutting. And make sure you guys can see. So nice long snips. Now don't be afraid to move your fabric around as long as everything stays nice and flat. So continue cutting your pieces, and I'll show you what to do with these triangles, because there's a specific way that we do this. So you're honestly just cutting around everything, okay? I will come back when I am cutting the pocket and the bib of the apron, okay? So for now, just cut these rectangular pieces out here, and when I come back, I'll show you how to cut the ones that are on the fold. Okay, so I've got my first 3 pieces cut, and now we are going to take a look at the ones that are cut on the fold. This is the easy part. All you're doing is cutting around the 3 sides over here. Do not cut the fold. I have seen students do this, and we don't want to do that, okay? Because then you have to sew it together, and then you have a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, so you're going to lose about 1.5 inches off the width of your fabric if you cut this in half. So please don't do that, okay? So easy part, I think I'm gonna start right here. So I'm gonna cut the bib of the fabric first, or of the apron. Nice long snips. I'll do it this way. Okay, and now I am gonna cut up. Okay, so I've got the apron cut out. Now you are going to cut out the pocket exactly the same way. Remember, don't cut the fold. And when I come back, we are going to talk about the different markings on our pattern. Okay, so we're going to talk about the markings that you see on your patterns. We've got a circle here. We've got circles on the sides right here, depending on the size that you cut out. We have circles up here, okay, and then on the ties we've got some markings. We've also got these triangles right here. These are all done on purpose so that constructing your apron is going to be easier, okay? So these are all matching points, okay? So for example, we've got this upper ruffle and we have our apron, okay? This triangle right here on the upper ruffle matches with the triangle here. Let me zoom in. At the hem of the apron. So that means that this piece right here is going to match up, and that's going to be a point where we pin, okay? If I take a look at the apron markings, so up here on the shoulder, those circles that we have right here are our matching points for our neck strap, okay? So this is the part that's gonna go around your neck. So I cut out a medium, and if you notice, I have a circle, medium, medium, medium. I have a large circle. This circle is going to match with the circles that are on the apron. So those are matching points, okay? So we have to keep those in mind when we are constructing. Now, if you mark these as accurately as you can, the sewing is going to be easy, okay? So the preparation that we do now is going to give you way more success in the end, and you'll have a product that looks beautiful, okay? So it's really important that we mark those places on our fabric. Now, if you notice, I haven't unpinned anything because I need those references. Now, there are lots of different ways that we can mark fabric. Now, because you are new to this and you've not done it before, we're gonna do the easy way, okay? So what we're gonna do is we are gonna use something called tracing paper, okay? And tracing paper, so it looks something like, let me zoom out just a little. So it looks like this, Dressmaker's tracing paper. And the one that I like to use is the one that is wax covered. I have some in the classroom that is chalk. It works just fine. I just find sometimes that the chalk, depending on the fabric that I use, the chalk can be easily brushed away and it can disappear, okay? We have other things like pens that have disappearing ink when you apply heat to them. Those work really good. But I think my favorite is the tracing paper, okay? So we are going to use tracing paper for certain things, but let's talk about those triangles again. These triangles right here, okay, they mark where we need to match other pieces. So the way that I handle these is I literally just do a snip. Don't cut the triangle out because it can actually weaken your fabric and it can cause it to fray, and we don't want to do that. So I literally just take my scissors and I make a notch, just snip, okay, about 1/4 of an inch deep, okay? So it's gonna look something like that, okay? Don't cut the triangles out, okay? I find that the easiest. I used to, when I was learning, cut the triangles out, and then I realized that if I cut them too big, it's gonna mess me up. So let's not do that. So now we're going to find anywhere else where we have triangles. So I know that I had one here. Oh, also remember that I have to cut another piece in contrasting fabric. Okay, so here I've got a triangle right there. So I am going to make a snip. I also have a triangle right here. So I'm gonna make a snip. And anywhere else where I might have triangles. I think that's it. Okay, so I've got my triangles snipped. Now, you've probably cut out your contrasting fabric. I have not, okay? I haven't yet. So I will do that a little bit later. But if you're using a different kind of fabric for that lower ruffle, you want to cut your notches in there as well. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna mark all of these circles, okay? And the way that we do that is we gently unpin. Okay, take the pins out, not all of them, okay? But a few, because what we're going to do is we are going to slide this carbon paper inside of our fabric. Okay, so like a sandwich, okay? Now notice that the carbon paper, this blue side, is the part that I need to go on the inside of the fabric, okay? So I'm going to just fold it up. Okay, and I'm going to place it there. Now, you have a couple of options. You can use a pencil and you can mark or draw in your circles, okay? What I do, and it makes it much faster, is I use this kind of tracing wheel, okay? And it's got a serrated blade. It doesn't cut anything, but what it will do is it's going to create like a dotted line on the inside of your fabric. And all I do is I mark just an X, okay? All right, so find your size. If you're cutting the small, if you did the small, you need to mark where the circles are for the small. If you did the large, you are cutting the large. I'm cutting the medium. Give some pressure. So I mark a big X for the big circle, a smaller X for the small circle, and now I need to see if it came out. Okay, so if you notice, I have two X's right here. X marks the spot. And then I have X's right here. They're a little more faint, but I can see them, okay? All right, so you are going to continue doing that for all of the marks that you see on your pattern, okay? So on the apron, your straps, your ties, if you have any on the ruffle. So make sure that you are looking for all of those, okay? So get that done, and in the next video, we are going to start doing some sewing.